Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and we are here to talk about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching, as I say every day, is an ancient text written about 600 BCE that pushes out this idea of the of like just this text being around for so much of our logical history, our like our history, right? I mean, the I Ching was being written or being formed well before this was the Tao Te Ching was written. And the Tao Te Ching and the things that are in the Tao Te Ching were being formed. It's not like someone just wrote this down without having observed nature and observed these things. These things are observations. And when they were written, it was written in a time where, things were changing. Things were changing, and this text was written sort of as a warning in this idea of, hey, don't forget this as you're moving forward in your logical lives, as we're trying to control the universe, as we're trying to control Earth, as we're trying to, further advance mankind beyond the simple role of being an animal on the planet, as we're trying to conquer everything. Don't forget that you're still part of nature. Don't forget that you are part of a bigger process. And that's, when that was written down, it's not like it was written and never thought of before, right? Well, I think we do think about that. We do think that, once this is written, it's out there in the world. But everything is out in the world. And then at some point, someone grabs onto it and puts it into words, articulates it, puts it into words. And then it exists in a more conspicuous way of being able to gather that information. You can prove that you've read something. You can prove that you have engaged in something. Jay's going to join me, and we'll see. JK, how are you doing?
Hello. Good. How are
How are
you?
you? I am well. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me. And excuse me because I am out on my morning walk.
Oh,
So
good.
I was running up that hill, as they say, as that song went. So I just wanted to first thank you for your shows because I've listened to them for a couple months now, and it's been fabulous learning for me. So thank you for all that you do for
Thank you so
getting up
much.
and doing this.
Oh, well, I'm up. I've already been up for hours. So.
But yeah, and as it goes, I mean, most of the time I listen and comment in my head. I've been trying to practice a lot of the stuff that you talk about, um,
Oh.
which
Well,
has been hugely helpful.
Well, I'm so glad. I'm glad. And I mean, however you hear it and use it, I'm grateful for it. Just being a part of your day. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really just trying to, like you were saying, relinquish a little bit of control. We do
Yeah.
it out of a lot of different reasons, fear, mostly, I think, and as much progress as I make, I go backwards too. So it's all part of the cycle, right? Because
There
obviously
is
there's
not
something else there to learn.
yeah, there is never a single direction,
Nope.
In the Tao, there is a verse. I haven't read it in a while, but there's a verse that talks about the idea of like which have you gained more not like which have you gained more information about yourself, like successes or failures. And really,
Yeah.
it's like, failure is something to really be celebrated. It's not something to, because what we do is we celebrate our wins and we sit on our laurels.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
like when we celebrate the idea that like there's something to learn here, when we celebrate the idea that I'm learning, We don't celebrate here in the United States, at least, we don't celebrate the fact that I'm learning. We celebrate the fact that I have learned and I passed the test. But it's like,
Yep. There's no
that's
propelling forward
literally
then.
that's literally the beginning of the next step, and yet we're celebrating it, and we're celebrating like standing here at this precipice. But it's like, really, this is just base camp. We
Yep.
still got a long way to go.
It's true. Everything. It's funny because you talk to friends of mine, and you hear the similarities, right, and things that are going on in lives, and
Yeah,
the list never ends. And you can't look at it like that because it's true. But if you keep looking at it as a list that you have to check off everything, well, that's daunting and it's going to drive you nuts. If you
right.
just accept the fact that it's never ending, it makes a whole new perspective, and I listen to you about, when you're doing things and, the next logical thing to do, and things will
Right.
get done in time. And I try to give myself that grace, but also try to find the balance of procrastination. But sometimes procrastination is needed. So then I ask myself that question, and I start saying, well, maybe, why do you think you need to procrastinate on this item? And things like that, which has been so helpful with me accepting when I don't get things done in the time that I think I need to, not in, the time
Right.
that it should be. As again, trying to control that. Or I feel the pressure of things that I can't seem to get my head around at that moment, and being more accepting of it. Um,
Yeah.
so those
I said
words have
this.
helped me a lot.
Yeah, I've said this not long ago. The idea that you don't know everything that's going on. You know what you think is going on. But
And
that
that
is
has
such
helped
a
me with
small.
people,
That's such a
because
small part, that which you know.
yeah, and that helped me with, like, when you're dealing with family or children or whatever, that has helped me immensely, because I've now changed my language a little bit as to, you didn't do this, or why didn't you do this, or, instead ask why did you do this? Not why
Yeah.
didn't you do? What was behind that choice?
Right.
And explaining that I may or may not disagree with the thought process, but I'm just trying to understand, because it helps me
Right.
process a little better and not get so upset about it. And it's not them, it's me, because I want to know. And that whole thing changes the picture, and that one word changes the whole tonality of the sentence.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the other person feels any different, but I feel different giving that message and saying, hey, I don't know what's going on in your world right now, so I'm just trying to understand a little better, with the acceptance that I'm not going to fully comprehend what's going on in their world, because I forget that saying you kept saying, but where people can only hear what they hear. You're never going to fully understand, which is so true.
Yeah.
What that piece of it. So I think a lot of it is, those things have been so helpful for me. But again, like, at first I was like, I want to be a better person for XYZ. And coming back to, I want to do this for me, because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, if they receive it the way that I intended, great. If they don't, that's okay too.
Yeah. That's
you
our
know?
that is, and it's hard for us because we so many of us are people pleasers. So many of us want the conspicuous result of making you happy, or whatever, like those things can follow some of us. And then there's other aspects where it's like, but it's like, this is your life that you're living, and that doesn't mean that you want to, if you take advantage of someone else, is that something that you want in your life? If you make someone else unhappy purposefully, is that an energy that you want to be contributing to your life? And things like that, where we have to, like, just manage. Well, either way, I'm really glad that you're getting so much out of these little chats. I love doing them, and the Tao is such a nice sort of just step back from how we live today, unconsciously, or without awareness.
Exactly. And
You
that's the
know?
biggest thing, I think, is just bringing forth that awareness a little bit,
Yeah.
and being able to say, oh, okay. I mean, one of the first things I started to learn embarking on a journey of, who am I? What do I want to be? Because I had these experiences where I get angry and I would be saying words and I'd feel like I was floating above me saying, don't say that. You know that that's a dagger. Don't do that. You
Yeah.
can't take those words. But literally my body was doing its own thing. And I
Yeah.
knew I was hurting the person that I loved in front of me. I
Right.
watched it and it killed me inside,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like I had no control. And I said, well, you got to get a handle on this, lady. Like, you can't continue like this, mostly because I don't want to be that person. That's not the person who I am. So
Yeah.
starting to ask questions and things like that. And the first thing was, learning to sit with those feelings and learning to, being anxious. I never thought I was anxious, but I am. That's where a lot of anger came from, fear for me. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has different roots for those, but that's what
Right.
I discovered. And then saying, oh, okay, but that's just a feeling. And why are you feeling that? And doing that self discovery of those emotions, but they are just emotions and they come and they go. So you
Yeah.
have to be able to deal with that shock and that vibration temporarily. And then when it moves on, look at it and explore it. But as many times as I do, fantastic at it. I have these situations and exactly what you said. I'm like, yes, you did so good. And the next day I'm messing it all up again. I'm like, all right, let's look at this one, see what's different, see what's the same. So but then I remind myself it's a journey, and I try
Right.
to find that, and apologize. Like the guy who came up and felt like I used to say sorry a lot. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't. I say sorry when I mean it.
Yeah.
um, and I try to be self-aware enough that I know when it's more appropriate, because I was so unaware of my actions that I was saying sorry because I really didn't know if I should be, but it felt bad.
Right.
And that's
And
that,
that
go,
helps calm us, right? Like we have this relationship with the word sorry. It's like, well, when I was a kid and I said sorry, I would be forgiven, or it would make me feel, I would be comforted, or like, who knows what happened to each of us. But we have this story that, like, oh, I want to be comforted because I'm feeling uneasy or whatever, and so we go to that, we turn to that. And
yeah.
it's
Or
and
when
it's
somebody replies to you, well, I said sorry.
right.
Okay. That doesn't
Yeah,
make
like
it go away.
literally, what,
I
so
get
what?
it.
Like,
Yeah.
do you realize what you did to me in order for you to say sorry? Like, do you realize what had to take place in order,
Yeah.
like, and do you think that that's the thing that, and it's like, no, it's so, and it's all
How do we
about
get
these
past it?
relationships. Yeah, how do we,
Yeah.
like,
How
how
do
do
we
we
move
learn from
forward? Like, what did you get out of this? And,
right?
those are really huge things. And it's hard because I hear that a lot. Well, I said sorry. And I was doing that too. Well, I said sorry. So, but
Right,
not
so
doing the
I'm off the
legwork.
hook all of a sudden, right? Like,
Yeah. And it's not about that. It's about trying to figure out how to repair, right? And the stuff that's unspoken
yeah.
and, understanding. Cause a lot of times we're giving and we receive different things back. And
Mm,
so we don't know exactly what that person is feeling or how that impacted them. I can't feel the other person's pain. I can
right,
empathize, but that's all I can do. And
right.
trying to find that, so I'm more pointed about when I do apologize for something,
Well,
because I
good.
want it to be sincere
Yeah.
and all that fun stuff. But it's
And
been
then
a go ahead, sorry.
that's gonna, as you become more sincere now, as you become even more sincere, you're gonna find different relationships to different words and different relationships to different people, and that's going to drive itself. Like, there may be in your mind right now a destination of where you're headed, of what that's gonna look like one day. But it's never really going to look like that. Because by the time you get to a place in which it looks like that, the person you're going to be is going to be so different that the image of what the future you looks like at that moment is not going to be the same image of the future you from today. So you're setting a flag out in the future, but because you're going to be growing and changing every day, you'll never really achieve that flag because that's a moving target. Because you're not stationary. You're moving in space. You're constantly changing and growing from every experience you have. And so it's really important to have just like this is why, the Tao always kind of talks about staying flexible and being able to just like not like have a destination in mind because you're here.
And that is so
And when
true.
you're at the flag, like the quote unquote flag, you're going to be there and you won't be where you are today. So you can't judge or measure your movement.
Yep, I agree. And I've been doing, so yeah, I've always gone up and down with my weight. And I actually started, as many people with this app, with Noom. And, I don't know, it's another thing. It does it a little differently. Yes, I had gone on and spoken to people about the psychology before, so
Mm-hmm.
the concepts weren't new. But, one of the things that somebody I worked with had said to me was, picture your future self, and then said something similar to what you said. And at the time, I couldn't conceptualize that.
Right.
And it's so funny on this path of years, this is years and years, maybe
Yeah,
decades at
yeah,
this
yeah.
stage, but just changing that mindset, because I remember being in my early 20s and saying, like, I would melt, crumble if it didn't go exactly how I pictured.
Right.
Um, and I had that image in my mind, and I had to be that. And I don't know, light years away from where I pictured myself. It never went the way at all. Universe, God, whatever you believe in, had other plans,
Right.
other directions that I needed to follow. And it's so funny because the person I pictured, and that young girl that was so scared and crying because this didn't work out. Now, you have years on you and you look back and you're like, yeah, that doesn't matter. But you have that hindsight. And I think that was huge.
Okay, you just dropped out, JK. I want you to come back up so we can like continue and then pick a number if you have the time to do that, of course. And then we'll yeah, like you were just saying, that little girl was crying.
Oh, yeah. So, the little girl was, yeah. So that person that was crying. And I remember this. I was at a job that I was at, and I was in the bathroom, literally on the floor crying.
Right.
Um, because whatever, I can't even, at this, it's so funny. That was so monumental to me in that moment, and can't even remember what it was. But I remember saying to myself, every time this image of the castle that you're trying to be in, even if the exterior changes slightly a different color, you're losing your mind. And you've
Right.
got to try to not do that and become more flexible. I couldn't find the words then. But even like with weight loss, I'll be so happy if I get to this weight.
Right.
Okay. But that was not what the weight wasn't it. It's not about that.
Right.
So really looking at what are you trying to accomplish here? Because I agree. Like, I don't try to, my future self, I have goals and aspirations. I do think ahead, but I also thinking now too, and know that those are just snapshots that may or may not make the photo book. I guess is a good
Right.
analogy.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I kind of look at it now. And I don't, yeah, I have a goal weight that I want to get to, but I don't know. I may or may not get there, and I'm okay with that. And those kinds of things, and that just makes it. And this applies to everything, but um, that is what I try to do now, and not try to picture, build the castle with concrete walls. It's a snapshot that may or may not make it in the photo book for me.
Have you
It's a
ever
sand castle.
have you ever experienced like you're like maybe you're in the bathroom or you're somewhere and it's dark And when you look directly at something in the dark, you can't see it. But when you look away, you can see it in your periphery.
Yeah. You
Okay, I
can
want you to
almost
think
feel,
about that. I want you to think about that in terms of like, just like this is just coming to mind, and so I'm just going to say it. Like this is like in terms of your weight loss goal. Like you have this goal and you're looking at it. Sometimes it's easier to kind of find something when you kind of look away from it. That doesn't mean avoid it, because you're looking away so that you can see it. You know, you're looking away and recognizing that it is in the periphery. It's not your goal. Like earlier you had said, you know, if I make this weight, I'll be happy. That phrase is really kind of loaded,
yep.
you know, because all of a sudden it's like you are pinning yourself to this idea that happiness exists within this weight. Let me ask you, if you were that weight, how long do you think it would be until you would be upset, unhappy, or unsatisfied with something else?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And that's kind of why I try not to focus on that. And now
Right.
that being said, so I will tell you, you know, I'm short. I'm 5 foot. I say 5'1", but I'm pushing it now. I'm pushing it with that one. But yeah, I mean, I'm small in as far as stature. And the reality of it all is that, the way I look at myself in the mirror is not very different from the way I did when I was over 200 pounds.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, and I could still see that person because that person is me, regardless of the, what you call the manifestation, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just that part. And if I'm looking in the mirror and I don't like what I see, it's not because I have weight on my body.
That's right.
It's there's something else there. And so
Right.
that was the thing about, and then, you know what, the weight loss became really easier because I wasn't restricting myself and I wasn't, I tried to be mindful and I tried to do those things, but my happiness wasn't contingent on this,
Right.
you know? And
So
once you
good.
start trying to tie those two things together, it's a losing battle because
Yeah.
there'll be always something you see in the mirror. Now, I've lost a lot of weight. People come up to me and say, wow, you've lost a lot of weight. I say, yeah, well, thanks. And
Yeah.
before I try to explain why. I just say, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Thank
it,
you. That's right.
but it has nothing to do with them. It's
That's
all
right.
about me because you know what I realize when I walk? My back feels better. I realized I actually do like nature, and bugs don't bother me as much. And,
Right.
and my mental health is better. And I related to that one thing that you said about, how you had to meet a mark on your phone and it would reward you. And,
Oh yeah.
I got into that. So I always want to check in with myself because if I'm not on my schedule, I get thrown, I see the shift now in my mood and I have to talk to myself and say, hey, it's okay. You don't
Yeah.
have to do, 5 miles a day. You
Right.
can do it again tomorrow. That's great. Do you feel, and just always checking myself for those because as, something healthy becomes an extreme and
That's
it
right.
goes out for me.
It just takes the place of the addiction that you're really fighting. And
Exactly. And I'm
it's such a
exactly.
yeah.
It's horrible because it's all what but it's a balance and that's really what it all is. And you always, if you go too far one way or the other, it does become an addiction. Too little
Yeah.
is not
Yeah.
good. Too much is not good. You got to you're always on that balancing ball that, the plywood with the ball in the middle
Right. Yeah.
and trying to find that out. Cause I have that tendency to go to that field. You gain a pound and you're like, oh, it's over, all what they call all or nothing thinking and all this other
All
stuff.
right. Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like I was doing that. I was becoming obsessive about my walks. And I was like, why? Like to the point where, oh my gosh, I wasn't walking fast enough this time. And why?
Right. Oh, my
What is my
pace
goal here,
and
man?
oh, the
Yeah.
steps. So, like yesterday, it's not going to tell me, like, this was my issue. Like yesterday, like it told me I hit my goal like only 5 times this week. I was just like, oh, those other 2 days I was only like less than 100 steps short. And it's like, well, how am I going to beat myself up for that? But it was this thing where the app doesn't know. And I'm like, what? Like, stop it. Who cares? Like, it's just a machine. It's just a stupid thing.
Or you don't have your phone with you. God
Yeah, or
forbid.
like,
Like
whatever.
you
Like I put
flip
my
out.
phone
Oh my
down and I
God,
took a walk. Oh, Jesus. Yes, I know
yeah,
about that.
exactly. So I feel a lot like those things, but I guess my whole point is it's a constant, it's a constant thing. It's not,
It's a
it's always
conversation,
moving.
right? It's a
Yeah.
conversation that you're having with the universe. Like you're not going to be everything the universe wants you to be, and the universe isn't going to be everything that you want it to be. But it is a conversation. Speaking of, let's go ahead and pick a number.
So I don't know. I'm looking at 15 in front of me. Yesterday I was thinking of 23, but I don't know what either of those are.
No. I want you to decide.
Okay, we'll go with 15. There's a
15.
big road
Ancient
sign
Tao.
in front of me.
Okay. So this is entitled Ancient Tao. The ancient master's ability to comprehend the mystery was so profound and subtle they were misunderstood. One could only describe how they must have appeared. Careful as someone hearing ice crack midway through crossing a lake, observant as someone surrounded by toxic threats, curious as a guest in awe of her host, unpretentious as a felled branch in a wood, vacant as someone staring off into space, and dull as a man with nothing to boast about. Can you be still and add nothing until the mud settles, and it gives you the opportunity to see clearly? Can you be still until on its own accord the next action presents itself to you? The master has no need for herself. She doesn't seek or expect attention. Not needing to appease herself, she has no requests. What popped out at you there?
Still is mentioned a lot, and that's something that I struggle with on a day to day as far as doing that. And like I talked about, giving myself grace if I'm not getting something I think needs to be done in the time frame I think needs to be done, and
Right.
trying to say, okay, just let it be. What else was the last, that she doesn't request anything, and I guess that's always hard because as people, we request a lot. I request that my kid cleans the room, sometimes forcefully, because I really don't want ants in the summer in my house. I love them, but I don't. But things like
No, yeah.
that
No,
stood out to me. Just how do you balance, that piece of it? But I think it's kind of a bigger meaning about being still and
well,
allowing to
well,
letting yourself receive some, as opposed to always trying to do something to get something.
so there's this whole beginning part that talks about the masters and what they observe or how they were observed. So the big thing is this starts with the idea that the ancient masters understood the mystery of the universe to such a degree that they when you couldn't describe, because it's a mystery, right? Your life is mystery, and your life in the universe and the way life moves about is mysterious. And so it starts with the ancient masters' ability to comprehend the mystery was so profound and subtle they were misunderstood. If you don't want ants in your house, there are a whole bunch of ways to do that. Some of those are physically not having food in your house or whatever, or not having anything in your house, or like having all of these things. There are, other ways as well, like, and we don't know what those are because those are like locked in the ancient master's wisdom or whatever. So one could only describe how they must have appeared because their actions were so mysterious and so profound. And then it goes through these 6 sort of things, right? Careful as someone hearing ice crack. Observant as someone surrounded by toxic threats. These are just the ways that they were observed. These were the ways that this is what, when you were watching them, you'd be like, wow, they're really careful, or they're really observant, or they're really courteous, or they're really unpretentious. They're vacant, like someone with nothing to boast about, or with staring off into space, or dull as someone with nothing to boast about. They're all of those things. And the best that we could do is describe what they look like, what it looks like. And that's what we do, because what something looks like, right, like your weight, is obvious. What something looks like you getting mad at your child for not cleaning their room, that's obvious. We can see that. Is there a way to communicate with your child through different means, through love, or through just like maybe even through you learn, like that way you learn. We learn through observation, right? Like, so your child observes something, or maybe even in the house, it's like, okay, well, food only exists in the kitchen, and that's all we're going to do. Like, food will never, for any reason, be anywhere other than the kitchen, and you clean up after yourself, and all of these things, right? And so we lay down groundwork other than the conspicuous.
Yeah, and I will say with that, I think for me, and I've tried that. I've always
Oh, I'm
tried
sure.
to different angles, and just say, let's put those, few boundaries or these kinds of things. The lesson in it for what I'm starting to discover for me, because now that you've explained it, I hear more of what it's saying,
Yeah.
is that I might just have to let it be. And
Yes.
is it really that important? You know, it's not, because it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And when I give my energy there, it doesn't ever feel good, regardless of,
Right.
whether I'm being nice about it, I'm asking kindly.
Right.
It's not being received. And I'll be on, and I think kids in general can be that way. They can't, and you say this too now, and I've said this for a long time. I don't know exactly, you say it a little different, but you can't hear it, until you're ready. We don't,
Right.
you go and you repeat yourself. And I think we just do this in life, and we say things over and over again, and you try to find different ways to say it. But if that person's not ready to receive it, it's not going to happen. So
That's right.
I can say,
Come back up. You just dropped out. If you have the time to finish and chat a little bit more. Yeah, you can say everything. And if your kid, and remember, your child is itself, himself or herself or their self or whatever. And you're having this experience. You're having the experience of your child either. Like, and I don't know how you describe this in your head. If they don't listen, or if they don't learn, or if they don't want to do this, or if they're doing it specifically to, go against your rule. But your story of how they are approaching this is going to tell you a lot more about yourself and what you need to heal in you.
exactly. And that is exactly, it hit the nail on the head. And I think it really isn't about the ants, and it really is
That's
about,
right.
trying. And it's so funny, since I've been working on some of these things, your feedback about being under the influence of your parents. And that really resonated with me. And it's huge, because we do. And we do it from a place of love, but it doesn't mean it's helpful. At some point, we just have to let it go. And that's the thing. I think a lot of this passage is really pertinent, just to be still. There's always stuff going on around you, but be there, be present, experience them, and then decide. Maybe not to decide, maybe just let it be, because I don't know, the ants really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, or having a clean room or a clean house, or, those are nice, but I have a house, and that's really good. That's more helpful, I think, than having, it's more about, like you said, me figuring out why is this request so important to me? And
Right. And
is
why
it
is it
important?
so, and I think, again, in this passage, what we're saying is the masters were so profound, we can't understand what they're doing. But they're still getting things done. They're still accomplishing things. And then after it says they're careful, they're observant, they're curious, all of these things, it asks the question, can you be still? And the stillness is everywhere in you. So the stillness of, can you be still and allow these ants to be there to teach you, right? Can you be still and add nothing? Don't add poison. Don't add rules. Don't add. Can you be still until on its own accord, the next action presents itself to you? Because the actions that you're coming up with now, as you mentioned, may be under the influence of your parents. So
Yep.
the only
And
actions is agreeing, being nice, being mean, killing the ants, whatever those actions are. But can you be still until on their own accord the next actions present themselves to you?
I'll tell you what wound up happening in this scenario, is and it's actually a situation. My kid's home from college. I have two kids, one home, one not, and home from college, and stuff everywhere. I call her the whirlwind. It's like a cyclone when she arrives. And I will say, I try to put some things in order because I need that order. She doesn't need that order. I need that order. And so by me, I started, moving some things around, making things a little bit easier. Anyway, she got very upset. I won't know where anything is. I said, all right, fine. Well, she went out, and you know what? I put up shelves, and I did a few things, and I put a few of her things that were laying around on the shelf, and she was very happy. And it worked out, and it was an easier way that we both accomplished the same thing. Where I kind of fall into a trap of myself is that, I have to be, at that point, you start getting, if I'm tired, if I did something late at night, then I'm become resentful of me doing that. Why should I have to? And I have to be careful of that that thought, and kind of start, you really need to go to bed because you're just tired and your brain's kind of looping, and identify those feelings. But I'm really trying hard to be, like you're saying, still, and try to find those more, less obvious ways to respond, because it makes me feel better. It doesn't even become about her, because, why do I need her to listen to me? Why do I have to dictate this is my house? No, it's her house too, because in my heart, I really want you to feel at home. Right. And if that means you're a whirlwind, that's okay. And I did have a beautiful conversation, because as she was growing up, it was a dictatorship in my house to some extent, because I was always trying to control and just help. I wanted her to be successful. I wanted to be there for her. I wanted to be somebody who she could believe in and trust and love and, go to, and all of that. And in doing so, I became so controlling, that that's not right. And it was so funny, because I was like, you're just like me. And as now, my whole mindset changed, because I am looking at her, and we're alike, of course, but we're so different too. And really celebrating her ability to do something, like not put a name or a label on things.
Right.
Yeah, I have a friendship. Well, oh, is that your boyfriend? No, we're just friends. And I don't know what we are. And, and being okay with those things. And for me, like, I needed it defined. In my head goes to that definition. And, I remember looking back and being like, you know what, kid, that's cool. That's really cool you can do that. Because that
Yeah.
took me decades to learn. And you're, good. You'll be, I guess it was good, that you can
Yeah.
sit in a friendship or really whatever you want and not name it, not make it be anything, and just enjoy the time you have with another person. Good for you, because that's
Yeah.
not something I could do.
And if like celebrating that is great, but then also being able to step back and go, what's my relationship to labels? What's my and
Oh,
because those labels
100%.
are attached to judgments, those labels, like all of those labels that you put on yourself, whether it was like you were overweight or you weren't pretty or you were short or you were this or you were that,
Mm-hmm.
right? All of those are labels. And all of those are
100%.
how you define a relationship you have with yourself as well. And then it's like, I need you to define a relationship because that defines your value.
And realizing it's not necessary, but it's beautiful to look at somebody in your life and see that that's for all the giving I give, I'm giving, and I didn't allow myself to receive. And
Mm,
realizing that, these people that are in my life, regardless if it's a child or a friend or whatever, you know, they're they're just as important to me, for my journey, as
yeah.
I am for them. And it was always one-sided. And now I'm opening myself up a little bit to receive those
Yeah. If you
messages.
can't receive, everybody in your life that cares about you doesn't know how to give to you.
Yeah, and it's true. And
And they
it's
give
I
up.
like, and
They
that's what's
eventually give up.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. And I said to her recently, I said, she's like, oh, I don't feel like this or that. I said, you are good. You are you. You are enough. You're enough. You are. And I told her, you're so important for me. It's not about me. I need you. I need you just the way you are. You are part of my life. You're part of my journey. And I need you teach me just as much, more so than, you know, I could ever give you, I feel like, because I'm able to not only, I just see so much more, but when your eyes are shut to it and you're just having this one-sided relationship because you
Yeah.
don't want to see yourself. And that was a lot of it. I didn't want to see myself.
That's right. And it's
And
so
that
much
was
easier to look at someone else.
exactly. And I'll tell you, it's been eye-opening. And like I said, you come on and you talk about this for a few minutes and you have these experiences and, people sound great. But it's a roller coaster because, then I go and I yell about the damn ants again. And I go, well,
Of
why did you
course.
do
Of
that?
course. Yeah.
But,
And
I'll get there.
and asking that question, why did I do that? And then asking the question, can I be still? Can I be still?
Yeah.
In this, with this, can I be okay with this? Because I'm going to tell you, the quicker you become okay with it, the quicker you're going to find a solution. And it's not becoming okay with it in that sort of shallow sense. It's becoming still within yourself, stilling your mind, stilling your body so that you can see clearly. And that's what it says here. Can you be still, adding nothing, adding no argument, adding no judgment, adding no story, until the mud settles and it gives you the opportunity to see clearly. Once you can see clearly. But that's the thing. Those ants, they bring up anxiety for whatever reason. Like
Yeah.
your daughter not listening, like, and bringing like a bowl of ice cream in her room or whatever, that brings up anxiety. That brings up all of this sort of frustration. It's like, okay, can I be still? Because that question is huge. Because the
Yep.
answer at this moment may very well be no, but I can practice.
That's exactly right. And that's what I've been trying to practice, even getting out of the house. I mean, it applies to so many things. When you're late for something, we were late for something, but we got there right on time. We got there when we were supposed to. We got
Right.
there when you know, maybe we didn't fit 30 minutes. Getting there right on time. I don't know how many parties you've hosted, but 9 out of 10 times you want people to be a few minutes late, or I do personally, because I'm usually running a little behind. But
Right.
and then I looked back at it and I'm like, man, I got all worked up for what? For
That's right.
nothing. But that's my constant, but you do keep practicing it. So
Right.
today when I'm going somewhere, I will look back at that and be like, yeah, I don't want to be that person, because that's not me.
Right. And it's like
Let me be
once
still
again,
for
like want is tough. I don't want to be that person. That means that there's judgment in there.
yeah,
I don't like that I'm doing this is how I like
that's
to,
right.
because you just recognize that you don't like that you're doing this. You recognize that and you give yourself a little grace. And when we see that, when we see the phrase, I don't like that I'm doing this, I can recognize that I need the time. I can recognize, right? I can be like, I don't want to do this, but I need the time. And now there's no win. We can just accept the fact that I don't like that I'm doing this. I don't like that I'm engaging in being late. I don't like that I'm behind. Okay, no problem. I can still be behind. I can still be late. I can still be okay with it. But I can recognize that I don't like that I'm doing it, add awareness to it, and then next time I'm like, I didn't like that I was doing that last time. Maybe I'll start a little earlier this time. Maybe not, but maybe.
But maybe, yep, exactly. And I'll do it until I don't, right?
That's
Don't you
right.
say
That's
that?
right. And you're gonna be late until you're on time. And when you're
That's
on time,
exactly
that doesn't mean you've reached a destination. It just means, oh, you're on time today.
just this one time. And maybe next
Yeah,
time you'll be late. Maybe you won't be. Maybe you'll be early. Who knows?
that's right. Who knows what's gonna
That's the
happen in the
excitement.
future? Just because we did
uh,
it once doesn't mean that it's gonna be permanent. And that's
no.
stillness, and that's allowed because like when we say I don't want something, we all of a sudden we have this sort of idea that if I achieve that or don't achieve that or whatever, we're now a failure, right? And then the failure is the judgment rather than the lesson,
Yes.
you know.
Well, thank you
JK,
so
thank
much.
you so much for joining me
I
today.
really appreciate this and
It was so
all that
good
you do.
to really kind of dive in with you and get to know you a little bit. I appreciate you coming up.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you have a good rest of the week. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
You as well. Bye bye. We're going to bring Dr. Rao up. He's been in the queue for a while, so I know he's got things to share. So I appreciate him coming up. Hey,
Hi,
Dr. Rao.
Martin.
How are you?
Happy International Yoga Day.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
today.
beautiful.
I came up to announce that I'm going to do this 2 o'clock, that is Central Time, today, an
Okay.
hour-long presentation. And it will be recorded. It will be here everywhere. Video also will be there because I do it on the LinkedIn and all that, right?
Okay.
It's going to be a brief what is a yoga prayer, which is really not a deity and all that, but it is asking for universal unity and such that. Okay, that is something you can see that.
Yeah.
Then immediately after that, it will be like a brief head to toe yoga in 5 to 10 minutes, and then breathing exercise, and then a guided meditation and then I'll dedicate, probably it will take half an hour, and after that I will dedicate the rest of the half an hour for question and answers. If somebody comes and asks question, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm going to explore some general questions. What is real yoga? What is this
Oh,
hoopla
beautiful.
about? Yeah, International Yoga Day.
And
Why?
that's 2 p.m. Central.
Yeah. And then so other question I'm going to ask is yoga as a separate activity for you, or is it the lifestyle? That means you
Right.
are living it. Okay. That doesn't mean you get converted to some, ism or anything. I'm not
Right.
really.
No,
So,
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I want to do. I just want to invite my friends. So that's why
Oh,
I
beautiful.
came
Well,
here.
I'll
But
definitely I'll
yeah,
be around at 2 o'clock, so I will make
yeah,
it a point to come and join.
yeah. There are questions like, what does it mean, integrated yoga? What
Hmm.
does it mean, relevance to the modern life? How can we You see, you are talking to your guest. Is there a permanent way to make it happen in your life? That's evident in my life, right?
Yeah.
My body at 69 years of age, I take care of it, but that's only a body. I take care of the mind, that's only a mind. But
Right.
I stay in something beyond body mind, and that's why it can be permanent. See what the ancients explored, like you were explaining to that
Mm-hmm.
lady. They were going to the mystery by themselves because it was mystery for them. But then when they unlocked, the truths are relevant. And the thing is, we have to stay in the truth.
Yeah.
What it is we stay in the manomaya kosha, the five layers I talk about, yoga body. Um, we kind of give lot of preference and embedded in that mind layer. And that's why we come back to it again and again. So neuroscience now telling you there is a lower reactive mind, limbic system and all that. That's the one which takes over right away. Whereas you have a higher discriminative mind. In yoga terms, manas and buddhi. You want to be in that buddhi before you react. That's the challenge for us because our lower thing is so strong, it reacts even before you have consideration.
Yeah.
So answer to you that is, it's really not a mystery, but it is a mystery for us till we find it.
Right.
And then stay in that discriminatory higher faculties. To do that, you got to understand these reactions and not to punish yourself, but to go over it. Anyway, we're going to discuss all these things, but I don't want to go too profound because
No, no, no.
people want to start where they are, which is fine. But celebrate this yoga day. Why 177 countries came like a few years ago and declared this as yoga day? Because there are wellness benefits, there is a reduction of mental health problems, reduction of addiction, and daily life you can function. Like I always declare, I'm in bliss, I'm working. So I'm not
Yes.
coming here to find anything, but share that bliss. That's what we are going to do. Right, Marty?
Oh, that's beautiful. Well,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for letting us know about International Yoga Day.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
So beautiful. Yes, International Yoga Day. And yoga, for everybody, it's not positions, it's not moving your body. I mean, it can be. It can be all of those things, but it's really lifestyle, and it's really a way of being. So definitely check out Dr. Rao today at 2:00. That's, I think, 7 hours from now. It's 7 now, 1400. Yep, that's 7 hours. 7 hours from now. Here on Noom Vibe, he does it. He mentioned he does it on video, I think, on LinkedIn. That would be wonderful if you can connect with him there. You'll probably find links in his profile, so check him out. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for Tao of the Day. I'll be back on Monday. I don't do these on the weekends. I just, take my time off too. Um, if you're interested in the Tao Te Ching and the text that I read and the text that I address, and JK, you should know that I would normally send you the text of number 15, but for whatever reason, I can't send messages on this app. If you do want the text, send somewhere that I can send it to me. I can receive texts and chats, but I can't send them. So if you want to send me your email, I'll send it to you via email. But if you are interested in the text that I present, if you're interested in learning more about the Tao, you can purchase a book from my translation over at my website, martinjohn.com, which you can find the link in my profile. I do work with individuals, but there is a pretty strict sort of client that I work with. I don't just work with anybody. So, I'll chat with you, and then we'll kind of talk about where you would fit. And I only work with people for 4 sessions, and then I let you kind of live your life. Once again, I don't want to be an influence under which you're living either. So yeah, definitely reach out to me if you're interested in learning about what I do and how I do it, and I would love to chat with you about that. Once again, I'm Martin John. This is Tao of the Day, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.